Hello and welcome to teleSUR English. I am Estefanía Bravo from the headquarters of Quito, Ecuador. This is from the south. Democratic Congress members are planning to introduce an article of impeachment against the U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday after he incited the riot at the Capitol that resulted in 5 deaths. More than 150 Democrats have signed on the article on impeachment drafted by Representatives David Cecile, Ted Lieu, and Jamie Raskin, which accuse the president of inciting an insurrection. If passed, it would make Trump the first president in the nation's history to be impeached twice. Meanwhile, Speaker Nancy Pelosi stated that all options are on the table if Trump does not leave office soon, including legislation to establish a commission under the 25th Amendment that could recommend the president's removal.
Who should not continue in office.
What the Congress decides to do is for them to decide. But I'm going to have to, and they're going to have to be ready to hit the ground running, because when Kamala and I are sworn in, we're going to be introducing immediately significant pieces of legislation to deal with the virus, deal with the economy, and deal with economic growth. So we're going to do our job, and the Congress can decide how to proceed with theirs.
Furthermore, Biden has called on the Senate to confirm his cabinet's nominees promptly and fairly, particularly those involved in national security.
This will be the first cabinet ever that is evenly composed with as many women as men in the cabinet. This will be the first cabinet ever with a majority of people of color occupying this cabinet. And it has more than a dozen history-making appointments, including the first woman Secretary of Treasury, the first African-American Defense Secretary, the first openly gay cabinet member, and the first Native American cabinet secretary. We're also on track. We named a record 50 high-level appointments that are subject to president confirmation, more than any president ever elected has done. We've done our job. We've begun my job of naming these people. It's my expectation and hope that the Senate will now move to confirm these nominees promptly and fairly.
And Biden has slammed the Trump administration's distribution of COVID-19 vaccines, as he noted that the effective distribution of the jab will be the greatest challenge faced by the country.
Vaccines give us hope, but their rollout has been a travesty. This will be the greatest operational challenge we will ever face as a nation. We're going to need billions of dollars to get the vaccines from a vial into someone's arm, the vaccination for millions of Americans.
And staying in the U.S., Twitter has permanently suspended President Donald Trump's account, citing the risk of further incitement of violence. The social media platform has been under growing pressure to take decisive action against Trump following Wednesday's deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The company initially suspended Trump's account for 12 hours after he posted a video that repeated false claims about election fraud and praised the rioters who stormed the Capitol. The move deprives Trump of a potent tool he has used to communicate directly with U.S. citizens for more than a decade. On Friday, Trump tweeted that he would not attend President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration on January the 20th. Trump will be the first incumbent president since Andrew Johnson in 1969 to skip his successor's inauguration. Joe Biden will become president at noon on January 20th, regardless of Trump's plans. On Thursday, Trump shared a video statement admitting his presidency would soon end, though he declined to mention Biden by name or explicitly state he said he had lost. And continuing in the U.S., several Trump administration officials have resigned after Wednesday's violent events at the Capitol. On Thursday, Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao announced her resignation to be effective on January 11th, becoming the first member of the cabinet to quit following the storming of the Capitol building. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos soon followed, submitting her resignation to President Trump effective Friday after serving as part of his team since 2017. Mick Mulvaney, the U.S. Special Envoy for Northern Ireland and the former acting White House Chief of Staff, also handed over his post. Joining them were Matthew Pottinger, Trump's Deputy National Security Advisor, Tyler Godspeed, the acting chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, and John Costello, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Intelligence and Security at the Commerce Department, Stephanie Grisham, Chief of Staff and Press Secretary to the First Lady, Sarah Matthews, the White House Deputy Press Secretary, and Ricky Niceta, the White House Social Secretary.
Now Congress has certified.
Chiming in on the storming of Capitol Hill, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said U.S. President Donald Trump incited an assault on democracy by violent rioters. His comment represents a rare, direct criticism by him of the U.S. leader.
I'd like to begin by addressing what unfolded in Washington, D.C. this week. What we witnessed was an assault on democracy by violent rioters, incited by the current president and other politicians. As shocking, deeply disturbing, and frankly saddening as that event remains, we've also seen this week that democracy is resilient in America, our closest ally and neighbor. Violence has no place in our societies, and extremists will not succeed in overruling the will of the people.
Let's take one last short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. More news now. Chilean police have repressed a mobilization in support of the Mapuche people in the capital, Santiago, on Friday. Social organizations rallied in Dignity Square in an act of solidarity with the parents of murdered Mapuche community member Camilo Catrillanca. On Thursday, his relatives were prevented from entering the court to witness the sentencing of 7 former police officers charged with his murder. As well as being denied access to the courthouse, Catrillanca's relatives were also detained, including his 7-year-old daughter. Police were deployed to the square early on Friday to prevent the protests from taking place. Mapuche communities have stressed that they will continue to mobilize to demand that the government stops the military incursions into their territories, as well as forced evictions, and guarantee justice for the constant violation of their rights. Venezuela has approved the establishment of a new maritime territory for the creation of the Atlantic Seaboard Strategic Development Zone as part of measures to defend the country's sovereignty. President Nicolás Maduro signed the decree during a meeting with the National Defense Council. The president explained that the measure is part of policies to defend the country's continental space, interior marine areas, historical borders, and the resources discovered within them. The approval of the decree comes in the face of the ongoing territorial dispute with Guyana regarding the demarcation of their border and the Essequibo region.
This very interesting participation of these young people, who will preside over and accompany the board of directors, has emerged from the heart of the southern region, and I wanted to consider it very sincerely, and I wanted to reflect on it because it is a historic moment for the peoples of the south. We wanted to point out that the board of directors that has been designated today as those who will preside over the Latin American chapter of the Indigenous Parliament are elected deputies, which is unique in the world.
In Colombia, violence against former guerrilla continues. On Thursday, the Common Alternative Revolutionary Force Party denounced the murder of Diego Maria Yule Rivera, a former combatant who was in the process of being reincorporated into society in the city of Cali. 3 former guerrillas have been killed so far in 2021, adding to the 252 signatories of the 2016 peace accords who have been murdered. The FARC party is demanding that authorities launch a proper investigation and arrest the perpetrators. Russia and China have raised opposition to a candidate from Fiji leading the top United Nations human rights body, creating a deadlock just as the United States may seek to rejoin the forum it quit in 2018. The Human Rights Council's presidency rotates annually between regions and is usually agreed by consensus, with any protest typically resolved quickly and cordially. However, the current impasse means the only global intergovernmental body to promote and protect human rights is set to resume work in Geneva next next week, with no leaders for the first time in its 15-year history. While the Council's decision are not legally binding, they carry political weight, and the body can authorize probes into violations. It is not clear how the impasse will be resolved.
And voting 192. Required two-thirds majority 128.
We're taking one last short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. More news now. The streets of Colombia's capital, Bogotá, were virtually empty on Friday as 30 million citizens entered a lockdown. The country's main cities began a strict 5-day quarantine on Thursday in a bid to relieve fast-growing pressure on hospitals following a sharp rise in COVID-19 infections. With 50 million inhabitants, the South American country ranks second in Latin America and the Caribbean in terms of the number of confirmed coronavirus cases at 1.73 million, while it has the third highest death toll at over 45,000. Moving on, officials in the U.S. city of Los Angeles have announced they will continue to use a coronavirus test that federal regulators warned may produce false results, while Congress, which has used the same test, is seeking an alternative.
92,000 people, a full third of all the positives that we have gotten, have been from asymptomatic people. That's 92,000 people who otherwise might not have known, might have been spreading, and might have seen this explode even more. So the message is, of course, use this the right way. The proof is that we've had a third of people, nearly 100,000 people who would have gone undiagnosed that we were able to catch because of this test, and that it has helped us predict those surges in hospitalizations and deaths as a result. To me, that proof is in the pudding.
The governor of the U.S. state of Utah, Spencer Cox, unveiled a plan on Friday to ramp up COVID-19 vaccine distribution as the state sees a post-holiday surge in new cases.
This virus does not sleep. This virus does not take weekends off, and neither should we. It is unacceptable to have vaccines sitting on the shelf. And moving forward, I assure you, there will be no vaccines sitting on a shelf. And so today, I will be issuing an executive order focusing on vaccine distribution. Vaccines will be distributed within the week they are received. Organizations that fail to meet that goal will have their allocations reduced and extra doses will be taken and redistributed.
Hundreds of asylum seekers stuck in Bosnia are still waiting for shelter in the midst of snow and freezing temperatures after their camp burned down more than 2 weeks ago. More than 1,300 asylum seekers, mostly from Pakistan and Afghanistan, had lived at the camp near the border with Croatia, which burned down on December 23rd after the UN's International Organization for Migration withdrew from the site. The IOM had pulled out as the organization believed the camp made up the tents and which did not have running water was not properly equipped for winter. Hundreds have been sleeping rough in a nearby forest as they wait to be housed in approximately 20 tents that they have been set up by the Bosnian army. The heated tent, which can hold around 900 people, should be ready for use in the coming days, according to the local mayor. Our local Red Cross officials said its volunteers have been distributing food.
And Croatia and Slovenia, please, I request you, me and this immigration peoples, please, give me one chance. These people going to Italy. This Bosnia life is danger. This all immigrant people is very bad situation. This Bosnia, yes, very cold and no clean water and food is very bad. No, but very bad situation.
I morning time go to the spring 4 kilometer. I am shower this year. No water, no hot water, no electric, no sleeping room. Very bad situation this.
And now my house is burned. This is my camp, is my house. I'm not moved here and there. And completely accommodation is burned, no have any facilities. I'm sleeping in washrooms. Mostly people are diseases, mostly people are dies, like creating in some, no have medicines, no have doctor, no facilities.
And with that story, we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also be sure to follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English, I am Estefania Bravo. See you next time.